In this video, we're going to be checking out Creality's newest machine, which is the K1, and this is going to take the FDM printing to a new level of high-speed printing. So in this video, we're going to unbox it, set it up, and do some prints. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Alright, so yeah, the K1 is a machine that promises to compete in the new world of high-speed printing, and I'm definitely excited to see what Creality produced here. So this is the box it comes in. It's not too large. I've got a picture here of what the printer looks like. Here we have the dimension in centimeters, and the shipping label says almost 18 kilograms, which is about 40 pounds. So let's go ahead and cut the tape. There's a piece of cardboard with some foam on the back side on the top. We also have the top cover with some stuff inside, and the printer itself, which we'll just flip it around and dump it out. So packed pretty well, and we are upside down. Let's go ahead and flip back up. It is protected in this plastic. Looks like we got tape here that we need to pull off. So yeah, lots of shrink wrap and protection around the panels. And around the whole printer, we have more. And even on the sides here, and we'll take it all off here in a second. So on the inside, looks like we have a box. There's some foam here on top. All right. Very interesting. More foam here. Pretty well designed, and cardboard and foam together fused. So yeah, right off the bat, looks really nice and quite premium. We can go ahead and move this as it was held by foam, and there's another piece back here. But yeah, it looks like pretty much unpackaged. So let's go ahead and see what we got in here. So this slides out. Very nice presentation. We do have another box. And under that, there's actually a little spool of hyper white PLA. So yeah, this is for fast printing, and this is what they want you to get started with, as if you're going to use the high speed on the printer like this, you want to have high flow filament. So on the other side here, we got what appears to be the touch screen, and below that looks like some parts like rubber feet. There's 4 of them. I guess this is kind of like an accessory for the printer. And then we have the spool holder back here. So let's check out what's in this little box. All right, so we got, looks like a little clean out plunger. We got cutters, and these are nice to cut filament on an angle and clean up models. We got a 10 and 12 millimeter wrench, open-ended, a plastic spatula, and I'm guessing this is for getting underneath the print and whatnot else. We get a little thumb drive, which is 16 gig. And for the last part, we got a baggie of tools here, a few Allen wrenches, a couple little bolts, flat screwdriver, and nozzle wrench to unscrew the nozzle from the key block. And that is everything for this box. So let's go ahead and see what was on the very top. So we get some documentation, after sales card, warranty, some stickers, and the manual itself, which is in multiple languages, and that's why it's kind of thick. But it is quite nice and detailed. Great images showing the getting started process, and here we have all of our parameters, and that's pretty much it. It goes to the next language. But yeah, right at the beginning, they also show you how to connect to the cloud, or use your computer to connect, or bring them with your USB drive. And the unboxing here shows you the process what to do, which we pretty much did all that naturally. And there's not many steps here, as all we got to do is connect our screen, put the spool holder on the back, check our voltages, and also there are 3 screws holding down the build plate to the bottom. But yeah, pretty straightforward here. And here we do have the top cover. This will sit on the top, and it kind of has like these little handles, nice detail here to pick it up. And on the back we do have a cutout for the chain up there, which we'll take a closer look here in a second, guys. But yeah, it just drops in, and as you can see, this is a completely sealed printer and it's darkened out. Looks quite premium. So for the next part, let's go ahead and install our screen, which actually goes right here. You can see there's a little plug that comes out. And this is what the screen looks like. It's a pretty decent size, 4.3 inch diagonally, and that's where our plug will plug in. And the way this thing installs is you have to insert the connector, and then it's gonna go into these grooves here and then go down. So this part is a little short, but if we put the display down on its face and kind of get close to the printer, we should be able to reach it here, plugging it straight in. And if you can't, you can just kind of raise it. But yeah, be careful with this, as these are pretty fragile parts and you want to not force anything, but it does click in there. And now we're just going to go into the grooves. It might be a good idea to open this just in case it's in the way. But yeah, it simply inserts and then goes down. A little bit of force is required, but yeah, it kind of goes down, and now our door can be closed and the screen is installed. So before we do anything else, let's go ahead and take a closer look at all the details of the K1. All right, so this is what the K1 looks like. It's actually quite unique. It's not a huge printer, so it doesn't take up much space, but we do have a pretty large build volume. Yeah, let's start here from the top. So we have this cover with handles here. It is cut out in the back here to feed our PTFE tubing, and it just sits on there. We can pull it off. And also it is tinted just like everything else, which is a pretty nice look. So the whole printer is enclosed and we have a door up front. Again, everything is tinted. These panels here are see-through, and we do have some protection here. Let's go ahead and peel that off. It does look much nicer, kind of like a glass finish. Same thing on the other side. And actually, guys, right here, there's a sticker that looks like it is right on top of the plastic, which is, I don't know if it's supposed to be beneath or, yeah, it's on top. Wow. Maybe it was just a mistake. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's not a hole here to even go through it. So I guess we won't put it back yet. Yeah, again, the panels look really nice. The door on the front is quite satisfying. It does magnetize. And also there is like a rubber seal around here that makes it where the door doesn't sound too loud when it closes. And going down, we have our touch screen with the sticker here that reminds us to check our voltage on the power supply. So let's go ahead and peel that off. And from the screen this way, we have the USB port. And other than that, it's quite clean. So I got the printer flipped around, and now we're looking at the back. We do have a nice honeycomb design. It is plastic. There's a fan here, our filament detector here. The connector's hot glued. And yeah, we're gonna install the spool holder here in the back. Clicks in, and then you rotate it to lock it in. And our filament will go from here into the detector, and then out of there into the hot end. Here we have the manufacturing label with the machine size and the weight, the 350 watt power supply. And below that, we got the power input port. It is fused with an on and off switch. We can see we got 4 rubber feet on each corner, but they are quite low profile, and this is why they include these, as you can really make them quite larger. This could be useful as it'll minimize shaking the whole table. And theoretically, you could glue them to the other ones if you want them to permanently be on there when you're moving the printer around. But the way they're made, they just kind of drop in. So if we go to the top, we can kind of see the chain here that carries our wire with the PTFE tubing to the hot end. Looks like we have some kind of latching mechanism here. Locks and unlocks the extruder, and we can kind of see the hot end there with the blower fans on the side. So yeah, we're going to look at it a little closer here from the other end, which if we flip around, we can kind of see here the front. Yeah, this looks like it's all built in and doesn't pop off. We do have dual rod rails for the x-axis, and then 1 rod on each side for the y, and 3 rods with 3 lead screws for the Z. There's a pretty large blower fan here for the parts cooling, and it comes out the bottom here. We can see the tip. The heat block does have a silicone sock. Very large motors for the X and Y, which is in CoreXY configuration. As you guys can see, all these belts. And yeah, the motors look quite huge, and we got pretty large pulleys too. Very interesting design and looks quite robust overall. Here on the back panel, we have this auxiliary fan that moves the air. But what's interesting is what's on the right side here. And there's a very large cooling fan that blows right underneath the nozzle. So this is additional cooling for fast printing, which is quite important. And the way they implemented it here is quite unique because it's quite thin with this radial style axial fan that's pretty huge. You can see the wires there going down, Z-axis motor. And if you guys see these arrows here, those are pointing to bolts that we need to take out before we use the machine. So our build volume is 220 by 220 by 250 tall, which is very reasonable, especially for this size printer, as the footprint is not very large, and they definitely optimize the build volume, which I really like. Now, one thing I'm noticing here is there's a trim piece here just laying there. Not sure where it's from or where it's supposed to go because there's not one on the other side. So maybe this was part of the packaging. Actually, guys, looking at it a little closer, maybe it goes right here, covering up these wires. I don't think you're supposed to be seeing all these wires here. Yeah, that's probably what it's for. Gotta see 2 openings there. Well, I guess the shipping got to it and it vibrated off. In any case, yeah, I guess that's where it goes. I noticed that here we have a little thermostat, looks like, for temperature reading. Very cool. I guess that monitors the temperature inside. So going back to the build plate, it is a removable, flexible sheet that looks like you can print on both sides. We do have a protector on top. It appears to be so. Yeah, it does say to peel it off. And underneath we can see the magnetic mats. I like how they have the notches where it just lines up on those bolts in the back and it just snaps down. Very simple. And we got a nice large metal frame on the bottom, and we do have the heated bed, which is insulated underneath. Kind of hard to see. So there are a couple little bolts you can take out, and this pops off, and we can see a little closer here with the parts cooling fan and the duct here, how it's directed underneath. Very nice. Let's go ahead and unplug it. Yeah, actually not too much to see here. We just have the junction board with some logic here, and looks like there's a lot more going on here than it appears, as we do have processors and whatnot else in there. Actually, it says here Creality K1 nozzle -MV12, so yeah, quite interesting. And it does appear to be another board right behind that. So yeah, quite a bit of electronics here to make the high-speed print head work. All right, so I set the printer down on one of the sides, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the bottom here so we can see. Mostly held by just these 4 rubber feet, and you guys can see how small they are. And this is why when you insert it in here, it makes a pretty big difference of how much foot you have. So there are a couple more bolts that you do have to take out to get the plate out, but it should come out. We got some venting here. Let's see what's under there. Quite interesting. All right, so this one's just a vent, and here we have a fan that looks like pulls air from the bottom and cools the main board. So let's start up here where the power supply is. So we got the power that comes in here from the side, and this is Creality branded, 350 watts, 24 volt, 14.6 amps. Looks like all of our connectors are nicely crimped and connected. You can go over and check if you want to be sure. Over there in the corner, we have our USB port. And if we go back here to the top, this is where you can adjust your voltage. It shows you right here. So it's all really hard to see. And I can't get my light just right, but maybe you guys can see it's on 230. So I need to switch it to 115, which is the other way. And so I'm just going to use this Allen wrench, and you can use like a little screwdriver or whatever else. And we're just going to switch it to the right side, which is 115 now. So depending on where you live, make sure you do that, as the printer is not going to operate correctly unless you're on the correct voltage. So looking back inside, we can see that here we have the Z-axis motor, and it has like a belt that goes to a large pulley, and that's going to be one of our lead screws, and then it goes and splits into 2, and there's another one there and another one down there. And that's for the Z-axis for the bed to go up and down. And you guys can see we have an outer tensioner that looks like is adjustable right here on the spring. Yeah, you can check your belt if you want to open up the bottom. And mine looks like it's perfectly tight. I forgot to mention that we are grounded to the case because it is metal on both sides here, which is really nice to see. And going down here to our main board, this is a Creality board with lots of logics and chips. We do have integrated steppers that are synced, but they are not removable. But yeah, lately that's how they all are. All the connectors are glued. Everything seems to be built very well under here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the bottom plate back on, and we're gonna flip it around, plug it in, and power it up. Another thing to mention is there's a little cable here that goes to nowhere, so this is maybe for a future accessory. Let's go ahead and peel this. Very nice. And I went ahead and put that sticker back over the voltage selector. And by the way, on the lid, it does tell you here when to use it and when to not. So when you're doing PLA, you don't need to use the lid. And when you start printing hotter temperatures like ABS or anything that requires an enclosure, you would use the lid. All right, so I got the printer plugged in. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Turn it back. All right, so it powers up. There's actually a light here also. Got the Creality logo. It says machine starting. All right, now it wants us to choose the language, and we have quite a few to choose from. I'm gonna stick to English. Now it's telling us to remove those 3 bolts from the build plate. So we're gonna remove the 3 bolts with the yellow arrows pointing at them. And they are these 3 silver screws. All right, so we're gonna click OK. So it's asking us to make sure everything is clear and there's nothing inside. I'm gonna click OK. So for the next part, it wants us to set up our network or connection to Wi-Fi, and we can go ahead and do that, or we can skip it. I guess I'll go ahead and connect to Wi-Fi. So you can click on your network and then enter your password. So now we are connected. We got a little check mark. We'll click next. Wants us to choose our time zone, and you can just scroll through it. So here it wants us to download and connect the Creality Cloud on your phone, which we'll do, but a little later. So let's skip this part. And now it's gonna do a self-inspection. And it looks like the firmware is still not perfect, as here where it says start detection and some of it's cut off. So you guys probably can't see that, it's too far away. But so I'm gonna click on start and it's gonna do all the self checks. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and peel this film that I haven't done yet off the build plate. All right, so let's click on start. And it's going to do all these self checks, including nozzle heating, which is doing now. It's good. Now heat bed heating, checking for that. Okay, that was good. We had a little bit of a force going down with the bed. That was that popping. But yeah, it looks like all our fans are working, and now it's doing input shaping, which is going to vibrate parts of the printer to compensate for the resonance or vibrations. We do have a foam stuck underneath that I haven't been able to get out yet, but maybe we can get it once it goes up. Okay, it is going up very, very slow. And our foam release there, we can go ahead and pull it out. And it looks like it's just going up very slowly. To be honest, I wish this door would open a little more. It's almost 90 degrees, a little more than that. So this is 90 degrees right here, but yeah. Wow, that's super slow. I wonder why they're going so slow. Maybe it's gonna figure out where it's at. That's why it's going slow, but now we'll see here. So you guys probably can't see as it's higher now, but it does seem to use the nozzle to tap on the bed. Alright, so now it's doing its input shaping. Okay, now it's vibrating the hot end. So yeah, it's just doing vibration compensation, which it shakes the axes different directions to compensate later while it's printing. That will take a few minutes, and you might be able to hear it. It's kind of going on a higher tone. Alright, so it's done with that, and now it's going to auto leveling. So it's going to level the build plate, or probably take measurements there. I'm not too sure what it's doing over there right now, but it's slowly moving. It's turned on all its fans now and got quite loud, including this one here on the side. So yeah, it's definitely taken a while to do this, but yeah, it seems like it's checking corners right now. Alright, so it looks like it did 25 points there, and it is done self-testing, and it says complete. So let's click OK, and looks like we're at the home menu. Alright, so let's take a closer look here at the display, and you guys can see the resolution is quite nice and clean. We are connected to Wi-Fi, and this graph here that we see, or this animation, is the nozzle temperature. Yeah, honestly, I'd prefer to see numbers, but you know, I guess a graph is kind of cool. So on the side here, we have main button, so we're at home. Then we have settings, which we can adjust a few things like our nozzle temperature. So if we click on that, we can type it in. Escape. Our bed temperature, same thing. And below that, we have the ambient temperature inside the printer, which is 31°C. And then we have motor off. If you click that, it releases all the motors. And here you guys can see you can move the individuals, home everything, home X and Y, and then home Z here, and also move the Z in increments. And on the top, we can choose from axis movement. And you guys can see how the letters are kind of chopped off. Yeah, not a great execution, but probably can be fixed in software update. But if we click on the next one here, it says extruder. So here we can extrude or retract our filament. And it says here tip that it will automatically preheat. And then we have a cooling. Here you can control the fans manually, so you can actually check how they all work. So that's the side fan there. And then we have the back fan that's on the back of the panel. So yeah, pretty cool. So the next one down here is going to be files, and it looks like we have already some prints ready to go in the local section. So that's going to be internal memory. Then we have the USB drive, which we have nothing plugged in, so it's empty, and history of what's been printed. So yeah, pretty cool that they include some files. And yeah, it looks like we have first layer testing, a CAT, and also a crazy speed test of 600 millimeters a second, and a 17-minute benchy, which should take 15 minutes, it says. But yeah, pretty cool. So we'll definitely have to try these out. And then we have settings down here, and that's going to be screen brightness, so you can go brighter or lighter. So I think I'm going to go more darker than brighter. As we're filming, it's easier for the camera to pick it up. Hopefully that's not too dark. And then we have screen off. So the screen turns off after 3 minutes, and you can set that to 5 minutes or nothing at all. Don't turn off, I guess. So we'll just leave it at 3. And then we have our languages here, which is English. The self-test, they're already done. Time zone. Bind the printer to the Creality cloud, and we'll do that a little later. But yeah, if we click on that, it's going to give us the barcode to scan. Export log, version that we're on, and reset the whole thing, and about the printer, which shows us more detail here. And on the very bottom here, we got something which I'm not sure about. Okay, so it's frequently asked questions and an online manual. And also we have a log uploader. So, all right. We go back to home, and by the way, we can see we have blue and green, which is green looks like is our bed, and the blue is our nozzle. So if we click here, what happens? Nothing. Do we have presets or not? I guess not. All right, and here you guys can see we have the light. We can turn that on and off, and also fan control straight from the home here. Yeah, pretty intuitive overall. Very nice display. Let's go ahead and go to extruder here, and we will click on extrude, and that's going to preheat it, and we're going to install our filament. And you guys can see it goes here through the steps. And if we flip around to the back, we can see here this is where our spool's gonna go. And speaking about the filament, we got some SainSmart PLA, but this is not any ordinary filament. It's high-speed printing, which is up to 500 millimeters a second, which is kind of interesting because this printer can do 600, but I think we should be fine here. Even with this, it's a very high-speed GT3 here branded filament from SainSmart, which is sealed with a biodegradable spool made out of, looks like, recycled material. So yeah, very eco-friendly. You can see the specs here, and it is a PLA high flow matte color. Yeah, it looks really nice. So what you want to do is cut it on an angle so we can feed it easier. And we're going to set the spool here on the spool holder, and then it's going to unwind that way and go into the PTFE tubing here through the filament detector, and there's a little blue light that lights up. Then we're just going to feed it all the way through, and it's going to go around down into the hot end. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see there's that little lever, a little chrome lever up here. It's kind of like right behind this tube. So if you pull it this way towards yourself, that unlocks it, and if you push it that way, that locks it. So when you're putting the filament in, you want to turn it this way or click it this way, and then once you're all the way through, then you can lock it in and the teeth will grab and push it through. So since we're feeding it through, what we want to do is just kind of feed it here from the back. So you open this door here, and we can just keep pushing until we get through all the way to the hot end. And then once you get inside, you can lock it to get it to do it automatically, or if you have it unlocked, you can just push it through yourself. So yeah, manually pushing it through, you guys can see it's starting to come out, but it's probably easier just to lock it, and then we'll click extrude, and that's going to kind of automatically just, you know, purge it. So and you guys can see it's building a little pile there. All right, so it's done. It actually purges quite a bit. So let's go to our files, and I guess we'll start here with the layer testing, as that should be quite interesting, and we'll see, you know, how level the build plate is. So let's move this out of the way. We'll click on this print, click print, and there it goes. And yeah, it was a pretty decent amount of purge there. So it's actually cooling off the nozzle right now. And now the bed's moving up. And yeah, I wish the Z-axis would move a little faster than that. Alright, so it looks like it's going to go through the procedures here before it starts. Okay, now it's warming back up to 220 on the nozzle. And it looks like what it's doing is cleaning itself over there. So that's like a cleaning zone, kind of, or I'm not sure exactly what it's doing. It's doing something. So it heats it up and then it cools it off as it drags it on the build plate. So it's cooling off now. And I'm guessing this is how it wipes itself, the extra PLA on there. Alright, so it looks like it worked. Pretty clean on the tip. And I guess now it's going to do its measuring and shaping, input shaping. So in my opinion, it's definitely taking much longer than I would like. I guess if that, helps it with being perfect, that's fine. But yeah, it seems like it's just taking forever. And if, you want to get started quickly, this doesn't look like it goes quickly. It does all this testing and probing and whatnot else. So it looks like it's doing the 4 corners, and yeah, I hope it's not going to do the whole bed again, but who knows. Look at that, guys. It's doing the out of bed leveling again. So yeah, it definitely takes a very long time for it to start. So I wonder if there's a way to undo that bed leveling at least part where you can just go straight to printing. Once it does it, once it should be pretty close, I would think, but alright, so looks like we're finally going to start printing. We're preheating to 220. And there it goes. It looks like the bed's going to stay at 45. Alright, looks like a pretty good purge there. And away it goes. And yeah, it's going corner to corner. And it looks perfect. Wow. Alright, well, I guess it was worth the wait. All that probing and shaking around, and it looks like it's going to do like a full layer on the bottom of that big square there. Well, I guess that's going to be quite interesting to see how it comes out. So far it looks pretty much perfect, I would say. Very interesting. So on the display, there's not too much different that's going on. We just have the picture here, and it shows you the preview there. A progress bar, 16% done, 17. How much time passed? 17 minutes to go. Then we got the pause and stop button here. It looks like we can control our light on and off, and also our fan here. So the only thing that's on is the back fan right now. And yeah, it looks like we can control our bed temperature here and the nozzle temperature. And other than that, let's see, what else can we do here? Yeah, kind of interesting because on the print menu here, I guess I don't see where you can speed it up or slow it down or, adjust the flow or anything like that. It doesn't appear to be here. And all these buttons are just normal menu buttons. Pretty limited on what you can do while it's printing. And also to note that it's actually quite quiet, at least at this speed, which is pretty quick still. And it doesn't make much noise, and even the fans are quite subdued at this point. I guess it's on the first layer, nothing's really on. But yeah, as far as the motor sounds, it's very quiet. Alright, so it is finished. Let's check it out up close, and you guys can see it looks really, really good. So it's practically perfect, according to what I can see. It is a little bit lower on this side than that side, but yeah, very, very close, like extremely close, and nothing to complain. Let's see how easy it pops off. So this is just one layer, so it's quite thin and bendy. But if we grab one end, we can see it peels off really easy. And yeah, actually it might be a little farther from the plate than it needs to be, as we can see that it's kind of stringy, so it didn't bond to itself. And I don't know if that's considered the perfect layer, but I guess as long as it's stuck on there, the next layer would kind of combine them. But yeah, they're all actually loose. Very, very cool. I guess the point here is that it's all very similar to one another, so it's very level throughout the bed. And on the display, it just says print complete, finish, and it just goes back to the main menu. I am pretty excited to print. Probably not so much the cat, but let's maybe do this crazy test thing that says it's only 7 minutes. And then we'll change the filament to black and do this really fast benchy. Alright, so we're doing the 600 millimeters a second test. And so far it's quick, but you know, pretty conservative. And there it goes. Wow, that is insanity. Wow. So all the fans kicked in full power. Yep. Except for the back one. The back one's not on. Man, that is very, very fast speed. Unbelievable. And on display, we can see we're 240 and 60 on the bed. So yeah, it's gonna be done in 6 minutes. It's boogieing along. Very good control on how fast it's going. As in, like, things are not shaking that much. Yeah. But yeah, you guys can see even by this door here that things are not shaking that much, and maybe those feet have also a lot to do with that. It's staying pretty composed here. Not bad at all, to be honest. Much better than I thought it would be, as far as the shaking and the noise and whatnot else. So here's something interesting. I noticed that if you're going to print a new file, let's say this benchy, there's actually a little calibration check mark that you can uncheck, and I think that's going to skip the bed leveling and whatnot else. So yeah, I didn't even see it there, but it looks like it is available to unclick before you start printing. So yeah, let's go ahead and try this 17-minute benchy. Yeah, it's printing now, and this is going to be a very, very fast benchy. And you guys can see it's going crazy. Yeah, guys, this thing's insane. So fast printing, it can definitely do. It's crazy how fast the benchy has grew in just a minute. All right, so we got our first 2 prints, and this thing here was very impressive of how quick it printed. And this was 600 millimeters a second, as it says, and took 7 minutes. And I think the most impressive part to me was how well the layers went down. It's very smooth and practically perfect. Shows that the printer is definitely capable, at least for this kind of shapes here where they're kind of smooth, so the acceleration can be quick. Pretty neat little print that really shows off the speed. Now, what's also very impressive is this benchy, as it only took 17 minutes to print. And if we start from the bottom, we can see it's pretty much perfect off the build plate. A little bit high. I would probably have it a little lower, but so as far as that, it's auto-calibrated and seems to be just fine. And we stuck, no issues. So let's start from the back here. You can't really tell the words there. It's supposed to say hashtag 3D benchy, but yeah, it's pretty much all blobbered up. There is a ringing and ghosting on the back, but if we look on the sides here, we can see there is some ringing there and ghosting, but not terrible for this kind of speed. The front here looks very smooth, pretty minor for ringing at this speed, I would say, for sure. So yeah, as far as smooth surfaces like this, it does a great job. Now if we go up higher, we can see there's more vibrations and ringing we can see. Again, it's not horrible, but it is there. We also do have some stringing, but it's not the kind of stringing you would think. This is very, very fine. Heat gun would immediately make those disappear. So, and yeah, our box looks great there. And we can see back there, we do have some ringing. So yeah, it's quick and precise, but we do have a little bit of vibrations at this kind of speeds. Now the input shaping should have kind of fixed that, which I believe it calibrated itself, but maybe I should run it again just in case. For our first two prints, turned out great, and this is an incredibly fast printer, which by the way, when it was printing, the Benchy was shaking quite a bit. When these machines hit high speeds at certain velocities and certain printing patterns, they do shake quite a bit. Yeah, we printed the first layer, the speed test, and the Benchy from here. I don't think I want to print out the cat, so I think for the next part, let's connect the printer to our phone. And if we go to settings and scroll down to bind Creality, we're going to get a little QR code and open up my camera here. We'll scan it and open the link. And it goes to nowhere. We're going to search for Creality Cloud, and that's what it looks like, and install it. And maybe this is not for getting the app, but for actually binding the printer to your phone. On the lid, we do have another QR code that says scan to learn more. Let's see what that one is. And here it looks like it goes straight to the Creality Cloud, where you can, looks like, go through the different printers they have and whatnot else. So anyways, all right, so we're downloaded. Let's opening it up. We get bombarded with free gifts right away. Yeah, this is what it looks like. It almost looks like the browser, but let's see. We do need to log in, so we're going to click account. And here we have sign in or log in. So once you're logged in, we're going to click down here on Workbench. And then you guys can see I do have a printer in there that I used, but we need to add a new one. So we're going to click on plus up here. So it's showing a tutorial here how to add it. So you're just going to find your printer, and they have a lot of different ones, and they're still loading up there, the pictures. But yeah, we can see the K1 is right on top. So we're going to click on that. So it's asking us to connect the printer to the Wi-Fi, which we did already. We're going to say we did all these steps. Click next, and now it wants us to scan the QR code, which is right here. So we're going to click on scan, and there it goes. So here we can name the device. I'm just going to say Creality K1, done. And we should be paired with the machine. And sure enough, now we have it pull up here on our devices. So if we click on it, it's going to open up all of the things that we can do here. So you can control quite a few things straight from your phone. And that's the cool thing about the Creality Cloud, is this is all you need to print if this is all you have, let's say, your phone. So it shows us the name of the printer. The total time has been printing, which is 1 hour and 12 minutes. So it must be factory printing. Local slicing, cloud slicing. And this is super cool because you can also slice your models in the cloud. Then we have nozzle temperature, bed temperature, chamber temperature, and print speed, which is normal. I guess here we can control how fast it goes. We have a little heat up button. And if we click that, it's going to start or open this menu here, and you can click PLA or ABS and then start preheating. Click yes. And there it goes, it's preheating now. And down here you guys can see their settings, and if we drag this up, we have feeding filament, printer auto detection, some feature there, move, other controls, and temperature. So let's go to other. You can see we can turn the LED on and off. Pretty cool. The back fan, side fan, and the model parts cooling fan. So let's see what this printer auto detect is. Okay, so this is to prevent ghosting and out of bed leveling. Preventing ghosting is not checked, so we should probably check that, which is interesting. And maybe this is why we got all that ringing on the Benchy. I'm not sure. And here we also have out of bed leveling, which I don't think I want to do because it seems to be just right. So we'll leave that off. Okay. All right, so I need to move this because it looks like it's going to initiate the input shaping. So this is not to turn it on and off. It looks like this is to initiate the process of calibrating it. So now we'll have to wait, which will take a little while when it does all that. And honestly, I wanted to do it just to make sure that everything's good there. So we'll be back once it's done. All right, so that's done. Let's go ahead and click on local slicing. So here, what it's going to do is actually read the internal drive, just like here we have in the folders, which is pretty cool that you can access that from your phone. And here you guys can see you can actually switch to the USB also, which is pretty cool. But to use the cloud slicing, if we click on it, there's going to be nothing there as we need to have a file. What's cool is that if we go back to explore here, we can actually find any file we want, and there's files available that just pull up. They're kind of all loading, but they are coming up. And by the way, guys, I forgot to mention that we are on LTE, so we're not even connected to the Wi-Fi, and we're doing all these things to the printer. So you can be anywhere and control your printer from just your phone on the data network. So let's go ahead and search for calibration cube and see what comes up. And look at that, we got some cubes. And I usually like printing these as part of my test. This is a CoreXY machine, so it's not as meaningful, but we'll still see how it comes out. So let's click on it. Here we can see more information about this model. And so here we can see we have a couple options. We can either download it or slice it. So we're going to click on the slice button, and it's going to take us to the slicer, which is everything in the cloud, by the way. And for some reason, it's taking us to add the printer again. So I typed in K1 in the search and it comes up. So there are two models. There's a K1 and a K1 Max. So we're going to click on K1, and here's going to kind of tell us how to use the slicer. And here we can see our build plate with the cube on it. And if we zoom in, well, let's say 2 fingers to move it up and down. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, pretty cool. And you have all of your controls here on the side to manipulate the model and do whatnot else. So here we can see we're on the K1 and we're on balanced profile. So if we click on that, we can go into a more granular adjustment of all the parameters. So here we're on quality, we got infill, support. So you can kind of go through this and see what you want to adjust. Let's see what the speeds is set at. Okay, so 200, 300. So it's like conservative. I guess it's on a balanced profile. So we got shell, travel, temperatures, controls. So yeah, lots of adjustability, and if you click on advanced, you get even more. So yeah, depending on your skill level, you can do either one. But if you click on the profile, which is balanced, you can actually choose dynamic, which is a more fine looks like. I think we're gonna go ahead and just stick with balance. And if we're happy here, let's go back. Let's just slice it the way it is. Keep it simple. And by the way, our material change is right here. We're in PLA. And they do have ABS also, but you can also add custom ones. So yeah, it's quite minimal for this printer yet, as it is brand new, but I'm sure things will get updated. So if everything looks good and you're ready, all you gotta do is click the slice button, and it's gonna slice the model. And you guys can see that I've sliced this before for the CR10, and now we have one here for the K1, and it labels it there under the printer. So all we gotta do is click on the print button, choose our printer. It's gonna ask us to make sure there's nothing on the build plate. We're gonna confirm that. It's also telling us that in order to have a better quality print, we should enable the print calibration. So you can enable or cancel it, and this is gonna go through all that stuff that it does. I guess we'll just enable it as it's recommending. And there it goes, it started. And we do have a little preview here. It kind of has a breakdown of what's happening right now. So downloaded okay, loaded okay, heating the bed and the nozzle, and it's moving around also. So yeah, again, very intuitive app and quite easy to use, and that's what makes Creality also a friendly printer, especially for beginners, as everything works pretty well and pretty easy to understand. And you guys can see on the bottom, we can just stop everything. Here on the screen, we can also see that we have the cube as a picture that's loaded, the usual printing screen. So the printer is going to go through all of its stuff, which will probably take a while. We'll let it do its thing, and it should start printing the cube here shortly. All right, and it started. We got 17 minutes and 33 seconds remaining. So this is a pretty quick cube with the standard parameters there. And so we see all the details there, and we can pause it, stop it. We have our settings here, other controls. We control all these fans and the LED light, and also the temperature, so while we're printing. So yeah, again, very nice app and quite easy to use and works very well. And everything is live. And also, if we did have a camera, as we can see there's no connection to one, we'd be able to see it. There's a little plug here off the side that maybe what it's for, but we'll see as time will show if Creality gives us one eventually. And we have normal speed here. I wonder if we can adjust it. No, maybe not. Yeah, it won't let us do anything there. So, but if we click on the hotbed, it does let us adjust that. So it's not letting us ramp it up or down on the fly, looks like, which is fine. But yeah, everything looks good and printing away. I wouldn't say it's moving very fast or anything, but it is getting it done pretty quick. And we only have 15 more minutes left. So it did seem to speed up a little bit. And the fan, which is right here on this side, sometimes goes faster and slower. Right now it's a little bit slower, so it's dynamically adjusting, I guess, according to what it's printing. Alright, and it's finished. And here on the app, it just goes back to the main menu. So now if you click on Cloud Slice, our latest model that we slice is going to be here. And the fans are running high now because it's cooling off the nozzle and I guess the build plate somewhat. Let's see how easy it pops off since the build plate is at 43, not very hot at all. Yeah, Pretty surprising how well this build plate's working. And you do kind of have to occasionally clean out this back spot here where it does this thing. Alright, so if we look at this cube, we can see there is quite a bit of vibrations. And yeah, I wouldn't say, you know, this is a very nice print. I mean, it did only take 17 minutes, which is pretty quick, but our x-axis is a lot more ringy than the y even. Just kind of interesting. So here's our X wall and our Y wall. So yeah, the Y seems to be a lot nicer than the X. And the top is also pretty good too. But then again, not perfect because we got some gaps there. So yeah, either we need to do some adjusting in the slicer a little bit to fine tune it, or maybe we should check, make sure all our belts, yeah, they all feel really good. So I don't think there's any issues here. So for the next part, let's go ahead and go to the computer and we'll check out what's on the thumb drive. And also I want to show you guys that there's more than one way to slice for this printer. Alright guys, so I got the thumb drive plugged in. Let's go ahead and open it up. So this is what we see. We got a user manual in PDF form. So it's a pretty good idea to go through this and learn about the machine. Here we have all the parameters, all the parts that are included, unboxing, setting it up, and getting started. So very good manual in PDF form and goes in good detail about all of the functions. Here we have the slicing software, and we'll come back to this. Operational video. I guess a little video from Creality, from unboxing, installation, power on. So if you want to take a look at that to help you get started. We got 3D models, so they include the Benchy, which we printed, the cat, which I didn't want to print, but I guess we could still. It does have a pretty unique tail that swivels in both directions. The first layer testing is literally one layer across pretty much the whole bed. The high speed test we did, and they also include a file for the feet. So if you wanted to print your own feet, TPU would be probably the best for these. And here we have some kind of filament entwine prevention tool. So this will go around your spool holder and then your filament will go through the slot and that will keep it unwinding somehow. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If we go to slicing software, we can see we have for Mac or Windows. I'm using Mac, so we're going to do this one. And it is a DMG file that we'll double click. And then we're going to need to drag the Creality print into the applications and it's going to install it. So it's about 337 megabytes and it's done. So now go to our applications. We can see the Creality print, open it up, choose our printer K1. So you guys can see the difference between the Macs here. We have 300 by 300 by 300, which is quite a bit larger than the normal one. So we're going to add the K1. It's going to ask us for the diameter of the nozzle, which is the 0.4. Click OK. And we are in the slicer. So here we can see our build volume. We'll zoom in here a bit. So let's go ahead and throw in that cat. It's a pretty large print, and I guess we'll go ahead and print it out, and maybe we'll use ABS instead of PLA. So the two profiles we have is high quality and normal. We'll stick to normal. So this is pretty much like any other slicer. You can select your model, move it around. Here we're in the move. You can put in the parameters in millimeters. You can also scale it, rotate it. And to the right side, we got our adjustments here. So yeah, pretty simple. And we can kind of go through the layers. Let's see if I zoom in here a bit. You can kind of see the layers there. So if we're done adjusting everything, we're going to click on slice, and here we can see the preview, all the layers and infill, and we got all these different colors that shows us what everything is, and you can select and deselect them. We also have speed, so this is faster, slower. The colors indicate how fast it moves at a certain layer and location, and also the nozzle travel here. So, and if you want to see the G code, they also got it here, which is quite long. And down here you can kind of do like automated build there with all the layers. You can speed it up and slow it down and whatnot else. On the very top, we're in preview, but if we click on the next thing, which is device, we can see that our printer is not here. So the reason for that is because we need to log in. So if we click on this little icon here where it says log in, you're going to do the same thing we did earlier. Okay, so I clicked on scan to add. It should find our device. There we go. I'm going to check mark it and add it. And now we have it here in our device section. So if we go back to preview, we can go ahead, send it straight to the printer wirelessly from here, or we can still upload it to Creality Cloud and do it from there. So if we click on lane printing, we can see that we can go ahead and confirm that that's what we want to print. So it's going to take 1 hour and 32 minutes with 34 grams of filament, which is an ABS. So we're going to click confirm. And so now we're going to select the printer with the check mark and then send a G code or one-click printing. So if we click one-click printing, it's going to start printing automatically. So that's what I'll do. And you guys can see it's uploading here and the print is in progress. Simple as that. We click on details, we get a lot more information here of what's going on with the printer. And actually it looks like here we can control the printing speed and even more things than it would let us on the phone. So Pretty interesting indeed. I would definitely would have loved to see them add the camera to this thing, as that would have been very helpful to monitor it, which I do believe hopefully it's coming in the future here shortly, and we'll be able to view it. So as that's starting up and printing, let's go ahead and go to Creality Cloud, and you guys can see I'm already logged in. If you're not, you're going to need to log in. And this is another way you can actually print also straight from the browser. So if we click on Workbench here, you guys can see under our devices, you can see that it's preparing for printing here. And for some reason, it doesn't let me open it. It says not supported. So maybe it's not supported through the browser yet. But in any case, it should be eventually. And what's cool is that you can just go straight off the browser. Let's say go into models, pick a model you want. See this lizard here. And we'll click on batch slice, and we can actually slice it here straight from the browser, which is pretty incredible. All right, so the lizard's here. And yeah, you can pretty much do the same thing we did on the phone, and we can see that it's slicing. We can preview it. The preview is a little bit interesting here. You can literally send it to your printer and print it out straight from here. So yeah, Creality gives us lots of choices, from the app to the dedicated slicer, Creality Print, and then also the browser. So yeah, and if we go back to prepare, we can start working on a new project if we wanted to while the other one is printing. So let's clear it. And we can throw something else randomly in here and work on our next project. So hopefully this was helpful to get you started with the slice. Alright guys, so we are printing and everything's good, and it's dark in the room, as I need it to be kind of dark for this time lapse to work, as there's too much reflections off the windows. Put the cover on top, as we are printing in ABS, so everything's quite warm in there. We go down here to the screen, we can see that we're at 260 on the nozzle and 100 on the bed. So I was looking for the temperature inside the printer, and it looks like we need to go here to settings. You can see that it's 39, almost 40 C inside the enclosure. So yeah, it is warming up pretty well, and the print seems to be doing very well. And this is an ABS printing. Alright, so we seem to have an issue, and what happened was I decided to start a print overnight. I felt pretty confident it was going to start just fine. And this is what I see the next morning, which is a big mess inside. And not only that, it scraped into the bed, which I have no idea what happened and how you can even do that, you know, and having sensors and stuff. So not only did it damage the bed quite deeply there, it didn't print anything. We just got a bunch of spaghetti here. So it looked like it didn't even start correctly. But the part that's really confusing is, why did the bed get scraped? The good part is, you know, this is replaceable quite simply. Just need to buy a new one. I do have a pretty large spot here on the back that I can still use. And this part here is a little bit off, but it really ate right into it, which is really weird, and not sure exactly what happened here. Well, actually, hold on. We did start the print. It just didn't start correctly at all, looks like. What I did was cut off the tops here to make it more flat. Notice there's a firmware update, so I'm updating that. Hopefully that'll help. Alright guys, well, there's quite a few things to say about the K1, as I am a pretty large Creality fan and maybe somewhat biased, but I do want to tell you guys how I feel about this machine and the overall experience that I've had with it printing all these models here. Now, we do have to remember that with new technology and new processes of pushing high-speed printing kind of is in its growing pains right now. As everyone rushes to make fast 3D printers, there's going to be some growing pains in that, and I think this is what the K1 here is having a big bit, because even though the execution of the build quality and materials are great, the way everything works together is not perfect yet. And in my experience, the slicing / whatever internal algorithms there are for printing are not completely in sync, and so you kind of get mixed results. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at a few of these prints. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned this, but the front door here is glass, which is quite premium. So we've seen the super fast 600mm test, the benchy, the cube is somewhere around here. I did try to print a few kind of materials, which will start with PLA. So here we have a little froggy, and this printed out pretty well. So here we can see that we weren't close enough to the build plate, and there's no adjustment for that at all, the baby steps. So it kind of determines that on its own, and it goes off the build plate. So if you have like a little blob underneath your nozzle, it might be a little higher. So as we can see, the layers are nice, and everything was pointed in 0.2 layer height, so it is quite layery. As far as the layers, they're sitting pretty well, and this was printed extremely quickly. I don't remember the time exactly, but it was literally in the low teens. So here I decided to print another benchy in this blue color, and as we can see, it looks pretty good. And this is a 17-minute benchy again. So this is ultra high speed printing, and yeah, as you can see, it stays quite composed at these speeds, which is quite nice. So yeah, it can do quick speeds, no issue. So here we have a much larger print, also in PLA, and this is like a little box that's functional. There's a spring here with gears, and this should close right up. And yeah, overall the layers are sitting great, and this didn't take long to print, like an hour I think, or a little more, but yeah, not long at all. On the inside, which by the way, you push this button, it should pop open. On the ceiling here, we do have a little bit of stringing, as you can see, or the overhangs droop down. Yeah, that all needs to be just fine-tuned in the slicer, but other than that, it's great overall. Here we have a millipede, and I started using the brim because for these kind of fine details, it's kind of risky not to, as it could pop off. And so let's see how easy this brim comes off. So far pretty good. It is coming off around the little feet quite easily, but it will take a little bit of work to pull it all off. And you guys can see it turns out really clean. I did a great job with this. Even at fast printing, it looks great. And again, this didn't take long to print at all. So here we have quite a disappointing print. This is an octopus. Again, I used brim, and the head of completely fell off. You guys can see how under extruded it is. I'm not sure exactly what happened, as I just turned on the print and left. And yeah, I came back to this thing. So I'm not sure if maybe the extruder was clogged a bit or something, but under extruded quite heavily. Down here on the feet where it was fine, you guys can see it's actually quite nice and pretty much perfect. Well, almost perfect, I guess. But yeah, overall it's quite good. And again, the brim needs to be cleaned up. Obviously this is a failed print. This sometimes will happen when you do fast printing, as there's a lot of things that have to work together for the material, the cooling, and things like that. So using different kind of filaments, let's say not high flow printing, could result in these things, which is probably what's happening. So for the last PLA print, we actually have this pretty complicated little engine print, and this thing turned out pretty well overall. It looks quite clean. I also use the brim here, as it's quite important, as this is all very fragile. There's a lot of pieces here that actually move. So let's see if we can't clean this thing up a bit and maybe get it to churn. This is a very hard print to print, which is to scale, and most 3D printers cannot do this print. So we're starting to get a little looser. I think I broke one of the arms a little bit. Well, it's going for it. And look at that. We got some movement. So okay, so I kind of broke off the connecting arm to that middle one, but in any case, it was doing good until I broke it. So we only got one cylinder working. I think if I was a little bit more careful with it, I could have got all of them working just fine, but we kind of broke off the arms of the 2 cylinders, and we got one left. But yeah, probably being a little more patient would have resulted in a successful print here, but in any case, it is possible. Overall, I would say success for this thing, which is extremely hard to print. Well, actually, our last PLA print would be this one here, which is this bear, and it's quite large. And this thing did take about 12 hours or so, something like that. And I do have a little brim underneath, which should come off really easy. And overall, it looks great. There is a little bit of sagging here and there, as the overhangs are quite severe in some spots, but overall, it looks quite amazing. And there was a lot of retractions here, and it didn't really skip a beat anywhere, as everything looks pretty much perfect. There was no under extrusion or anything too weird. So yeah. So here we have a shark, and this print was printed in PETG, and it turned out pretty good overall. The teeth in the front kind of messed up there. The bottom, for some reason, is completely ripping off. So this is supposed to be a mouth that functions, but I don't know if we can even get to that where it can open up and we can, well, actually it did open up. Look at that. Even though the teeth were crooked, it still opened up and works. So yeah, I mean, the print looks great overall, I guess, in PETG. I think I might have printed it a little too hot and probably needed a little more cooling, but we can see the bottom is just ripping right off. In any case, the layers are sitting good. ABS prints, which we'll start with this cat that was actually included in the printer. And this thing looks great. And it practically is perfect. So this is actually the bottom. You can kind of see the gaps a bit. So it does need to get a little closer, but the top looks pretty much perfect. We do have a little bit of over extrusion here, but other than that, I mean, for ABS, this does look reasonably well. And you know, this thing does have some function to it as the tail kind of wags. Let's see, can we wag? So yeah, pretty cool little cat. So I went ahead and printed another benchy with ABS, and surprisingly, this actually turned out really well. Now this was slowed down a bit, so I think this was more like a 25-minute benchy or something like that, but still, you guys can see it looks great. And even for that pretty short amount of time, it's pretty composed, especially being in ABS. And by the way, in ABS, everything preheats very well, and the bed gets to 100, no problem, pretty quickly. We put the top on and the heat does build up. We do have more ABS printing, which we have this gear here. I normally print this in PLA, but I decided to print it in ABS, and you guys can see it looks pretty good. We do, interestingly enough, have a small little elephant foot. So yeah, again, you can't adjust the baby step or the layer height or offset it in any way that I saw. So yeah, once we pulled it off, I was able to just spin it up and it spins. It's pretty close to perfect and very accurate, and that's quite important for the CoreXY movements here on the belts, as if that's not perfect, it'll be a small oval and then you'll be able to feel it. So here we pretty much have a perfect circle. These are also printed in ABS, and these are RC wheels, and I did use supports, as we can see there, and yeah, it overall printed out great. Let's see how easy this support comes off, so I'm just going to spin it in there. Okay, so it's not coming off too easy. Well, normally this should just snap off, but it's kind of grabbing on. It did pop off. It was a little more sticky here to the bottom than normal. So again, maybe, you know, I had too much heat, but overall, not bad at all, and actually cleans up almost perfect. We're going to actually use these for our little 110 drift car. And so our last ABS print is also printed and spiralized, is this spaceship, and this is the full height of what this printer can print, which is 250 millimeters tall. And normally I print this in PLA, but I figured I'd give it a shot for spiralized mode. So we got a few layers on the bottom and then one layer all the way around, so it's hollow. And we can see the bottom looks great. It's stuck. It did warp a little bit here, but not bad for, you know, being ABS. And it is one layer. We can see there's some vibrations in the print. Not bad though. But yeah, overall, you guys can see you can do spiralized printing no problem, and this would probably look quite a bit better in PLA, but yeah, pretty impressive even here in ABS. And as we go up, it's quite smooth here. I did accidentally snap this off while I was moving it around. Yeah, I even got to the little ball on the very top, printed that, and didn't melt, which is pretty cool. Now, one thing I did have trouble with is TPU. So this is a little rocket here, also in spiralized mode. You guys can see, we can bend it here and fold it, and it'll just bounce back. So yeah, TPU is really cool, but I had a really hard time of starting this print. It does stick well, but when it starts printing, I don't know if I can show you guys this, but it wanted to under extrude like crazy. So what I had to do is turn the fans off completely, and then it started printing fine, but then I think it was too hot and kind of started foaming. So yeah, I mean, lots of adjustments need to happen. If the fans are fully on, it just wants to clog and not print at all, which is crazy. And this is choosing the TPU profile from the slicer. Doesn't really help at all. So yeah, and you guys can see we did have some under extrusion here, but it did finish. It just doesn't look great. It's kind of foamy, and it's pretty hard to print TPU for some reason. And this TPU here is quite hard and pretty easy to print overall on most printers. Yeah, for this high-speed printers here, they seem to have a little more trouble with TPU, at least what I've noticed. And also, speaking about the build plate and these gouges that we got in there, I still don't know exactly what happened, but it seemed to work fine after that. Something went haywire in the software and it ended up chewing the bed up. But yeah, I thought that was quite strange. So let's go ahead and close this door. The conclusions of this printer are quite interesting, as the speed is kind of like the benefit but also the detriment to this whole process. You really kind of have to moderate that according to what material you're using, and also understand the whole fans and how much that could affect the prints. And speaking about the fans, they get very loud, especially this larger one here. When it goes full power, it gets obnoxiously loud. So it's not terrible, but you don't want to be in the same room with it at full speed. What you can do is go on the screen and kind of turn them down to a bearable sound, because full speed is extremely loud. The Hotend seems great. The lock and unlock feature up here to fit the filament in works most of the time. It's not perfect. Sometimes I have to fiddle around with it to get it in and feed it through, and the process of loading it takes a while, the preheating. And that's another thing. There's a pretty minimal function here of what I would like, at least for normal things like just preheating the machine. And another big one is while you're printing, you can't adjust the speed of how fast it's printing. So yeah, I would like some firmware update to address these things also. And probably the biggest one is how long it takes to start a print. So once you send a file or start a file, no matter how you do it, that part is fine, but how long it takes to probe, wipe, probe again, and if it's going to calibrate, it's going to go through the whole bed. It just could get a little frustrating when, let's say, you just start some print and then it doesn't work out and you have to restart it. Every time you restart it, you have to wait this whole time of just starting it. So I wish they had an option where you can bypass everything and just go straight to printing. And what's interesting about the K1 overall, it's not that it has any kind of flaws in its build materials or techniques or features. It's mostly the software that's kind of limiting this printer to be an excellent printer. So if the Creality can, push out the firmwares and get this thing updated to something a lot more friendly and easier to use, I think it would be a much more desirable machine than it is at this point. And so that said, it will get better over time. The super fast speed printing is definitely there. You guys saw it's incredible. I love how it's all enclosed. Then we have a nice cap here that goes on the top. Build quality and premium materials. And that's no exception for the display, which is very nice and easy to use, very responsive, great resolution, and definitely one of the highlights here for this printer. 220 by 220 by 250 millimeter build volume is great for this size machine. The nozzle does heat up to 300C and 100C on the bed, no problem. The out of bed leveling seems to work decent overall. The G sensor compensation or input shaping does seem to be working, but I am seeing vibration still in the print, so I think that could be improved for sure. The huge fan here on the side is a huge plus if you moderate it correctly. And probably one of the biggest things that is great is that you can connect to this printer in 3 different ways. Through the app on your phone, which you can be on data and control it from anywhere or see what's going on. Also from the computer, from Creality Print, and also from an internet browser, which is quite cool. The only thing we need is that camera in here, which hopefully Creality will start shipping soon, and a lot of firmware updates to make this printer a lot more enticing. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the K1. And I think for the right person that is willing to put up with some of the shortcomings that it has, would really enjoy it. And as time goes by, hopefully all the bugs will get ironed out and it'll become a great printer for everyone. So yeah, guys, that's my take on the K1. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I know it was a little long, as this printer is very unique. All right, guys, if you are interested in the K1, I'm going to have some links in the description. Check it out. And thanks to Sainsmart for shipping out their GT3 filament that we tried out, and it seemed to work very well. So I'll have some links for that. If you're doing high speed, you definitely need high speed filament. And if you did enjoy this video, then hit that like button. Also check out my 3D printing playlist. I'm sure you'll find something interesting there. And stay tuned for more videos to come, as we do have more interesting printers and videos coming up. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.